Good evening. I'd like to call this regular meeting of council for February 15th, 2022 to order at 7 p.m. We'll stay seated for a moment of silent reflection. As we gather this evening, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history. And we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. There's the address. As a result of the ongoing efforts of Warden Robinson, County Council, County staff, and our MPP, John Yakubuski, Minister of Health, Christine Elliott, announced on Wednesday, February the 9th, 2022, that the funding for the Renfrew County Virtual Triage, RCV TAC Assessment Center, has been extended for another year. This is excellent news for the residents of Renfrew County. On February 16th and 17th, 2022, I will be attending the AMO Conflict Resolution Training Session. On Wednesday, February the 16th, 2022, Voucher Union Public Library CEO Susan Artemio will be presenting the 2022 library budget to North Algona Wilberforce and the Voucher Valley Councils. It has been a challenging year for libraries in Renfrew County as they've had busy projects to meet their budget targets. I would also like to acknowledge today as National Flag Day of Canada. This day was officially proclaimed on February the 15th, 1996 by Prime Minister John Chrétien. Finally, I want to thank all of council for their input and direction during our municipal budget planning for 2022. Staff did an excellent job incorporating council's plans into the budget. The budget, which was unanimously approved by council at a special budget meeting on February the 8th, 2022, includes a 1.8% levy increase, which represents our municipal growth in 2021. I have a motion that the February 15th, 2022 mayor's address be accepted as presented. Can I get over and seconded? Moved by Councillor Buckwell, seconded by Councillor Robinson. Burks? Yes. Councillor Buckwell?
Yes.
Councillor Robinson?
Yes.
Councillor Ivey-Tonfeld?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Eric, thank you. We'll move to the adoption of the minutes. I have a motion that the February 1st, 2022 regular council and the February 8th, 2022 special council public budget presentation minutes be accepted as presented. And I'm going to move in a second, moved by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor Byrne. Are there any additions, corrections, or omissions? Hearing none, Councillor Burns? Yes. Councillor Buckwell?
Yes.
Councillor Robinson?
Yes.
Councillor Ivey-Tonfeld?
Yes.
Yes. Carried. Thank you. Well, I have a motion that council go into closed session for one personal matter about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, one proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. Can I get a Councillor Ivey-Tonfeld, seconded by Councillor Robinson. Councillor Burns? Yes. Councillor Buckwell?
Yes.
Councillor Robinson?
Yes.
Councillor Ivey-Tonfeld?
Yes.
And yes, that's carried. We'll be going into closed at 7:05 p.m. Well, I have a motion that council comes out of closed session at 7:30 p.m. Can I get a move to the second? Moved by Councilor Buckwell, seconded by Councilor Burns. Yes. Councilor Buckwell.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Reckies.
Yes.
Yes, that's carried. Thank you. We're out of order.
Right, no,
Talk to the mayor.
No.
Next on our agenda is our delegation. Are they, okay? Dave Keller? Okay. So on behalf of council, I'd like to welcome Warden Robinson and the biggest part of the senior leadership team. We've got with us the CAO of the county, Mr. Morrow. We've got the director of our health and long-term care, Mr. Belmore. And we have our director of property development, Mr. Kelly. So welcome to everybody, and I'll turn it over to Warden Robinson. And I had asked Warden Robinson prior to the meeting to give us some of the data and background on the VTAC program, how important it is to Renfrew County. And before she gets started, I certainly want to recognize the time and effort that Warden Robinson has put into ensuring that we get this program and the funding extended for another year. Warden Robinson has been a real champion for this cause, and with the support of the leadership team, we finally got the announcement this week that it will continue. So thank you very much, and Warden Robinson, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Rose. It's my pleasure to be here this evening with three outstanding gentlemen who are part of our senior leadership team. You know, asking me to speak about VTAC, I could do that every day of the week, probably in my sleep, and I probably do that. So yes, we have received funding for VTAC until March 31st of 2023. That was excellent news. We've spent a lot of time at the county speaking with the Ministry of Health and in particular Minister Elliott, who is acutely aware of what VTAC has done for the County of Renfrew. As most of us know, we have a population base of approximately 104,000 with about 25,000 people who do not have access to a family care or a primary care practitioner. So, VTAC, which was stood up as a result of COVID-19, was a virtual assessment center, quickly pivoted to also allow people who do not have a family doctor or could not access their family doctor because there were a number of physicians that closed their office at the beginning of the pandemic, to be able to call and get care for right away. And it has been absolutely incredible. There are literally thousands of people who contact VTAC on a weekly basis. At the present time, we have 26 family physicians who work at VTAC. Most of these physicians are also full-time practicing physicians who will give up an evening, a weekend to help out with VTAC, because again, one of the things that is unique about the County of Renfrew and our healthcare sector is that they all recognize the need and have gone over and above. So, very, very happy. We will not stop advocating until we're sure that the Ministry of Health will provide funding on an ongoing basis. And so that is certainly the goal going forward for the County of Renfrew. Before I get into why we're here tonight, I do want to recognize you, Mayor Brose. Certainly one of the strongest members of County Council, a contributor in all issues. It's been my pleasure to be his seatmate until I became warden. It's been a great 3.5 years so far. Enjoy your contributions, well respected, and I'm sure that every member of council realizes how fortunate North Algona Wilberforce is to have you as the mayor. So again, thank you for everything you do. You are so committed and so dedicated, not only to your municipality, but the entire County of Renfrew. So I do thank you for that. So we are here this evening. I'm joined by CEO Paul Morrow, our Director of Development and Property, Craig Kelly, and our Manager of Human Resources, Greg Belmore. I want to talk to you a little bit about our service delivery improvement project. So I'll give you a bit of background. It was early in 2019, the senior leadership team came to County Council with a proposition. We are always looking at how to be more efficient and deliver our services the best we can to the residents of the County of Renfrew and our lower tier municipalities. So they took a look and, identified for us that we were paying approximately $400,000 a year to outside property owners to pay for office space in downtown Pembroke. That office space was for our childcare services, for Ontario Works, and for the Renfrew County Housing Corporation. So they wanted to talk about a one window approach, and we had actually done that in Renfrew, and it worked very, very well. So the decision, and it was unanimous by County Council, that we would bring Ontario Works Childcare and Renfrew County Housing Authority back into the main administration building located here in Pembroke. At the same time, the province of Ontario was talking about efficiencies, and they provided us with $750,000. It was great timing. And so we started the process. Of course, as everyone knows, the pandemic hit. So what probably could have been done in maybe 9 months took us 14 months, led by Mr. Kelly. And, we had staff working from home, working in the office, and it was a stressful time, but absolutely incredible. When you can, it's stressful enough if anyone's ever renovated their home and tried to live in it at the same time. We were doing this, we were operating the entire County of Renfrew and all the services, and I will tell you that we never missed a beat. And we were dealing with the pandemic. So during that time also, there was additional funding from the province of Ontario, which allowed us to take a really deep review of our planning department. And Mr. Kelly is going to talk to you about the results of that review and it's an ongoing process. I'm very excited about what that department can now provide our member municipalities. As far as human resources is concerned, we did have some staff changes at that time, which allowed us to incorporate human resources with our finance department. We now call it the corporate services department, led by Mr. Foss, who is not here this evening. But he was able to hire some really talented, really experienced individuals, Mr. Belmore being one of them. And we have some young, energetic staff that are ready to provide the human resource services to our member municipalities that many of our municipalities could not do on their own. I don't want to take away any of the glory here, so I am going to turn it over first to Mr. Morrow. Again, thank you very much, Mayor Burrows, for having us here this evening.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Go ahead, Mr. Morrow.
Oh, thank you, Your Worship, and thank you again for having us tonight. I'm not going to take up too much time. Just want to acknowledge, though, that one of the departments that had the biggest impact on it during our service delivery review was the Community Services Department, the one that you chair. And I think that what we've seen in that department by bringing those staff all into the same central location is probably better service to our ratepayers, and you continue to chair that department, and I think see firsthand some of the benefits of the overlap between childcare, Ontario Works, and our housing folks. So all serve many of the same clients. So we see also benefits in the service that we provide as well. So with that, I think we want to focus this evening, like the warden said, on human resources and the changes to our corporate services department. And then Craig's going to talk a little bit about the planning services review. So if I may, Your Worship, I will turn it over to Greg first to start the conversation and outline the changes to human resources and the services that we are endeavoring to provide to local municipalities.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Belmore.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Greg Belmore, and I'm the new manager of human resources at the county. Tonight, I want to speak to you about the changes that have occurred in our HR department and the HR services that the county is now able to offer to lower tier municipalities. So as the warden mentioned, in 2020, the HR department of the county underwent a restructuring, and the department was realigned under the newly formed corporate services department under the leadership of Mr. Jeff Foss. So included in the corporate services department are the human resource team, the finance team, IT, as well as the provincial offenses administration portfolio. In early 2021, a business case was presented to and approved by County Council for the restructuring of our HR team, which led to my hiring as the HR manager, as well as 2 human resource coordinators. A further case was added for an additional resource to be hired to support local municipalities like yourselves through a fee-for-service model. Our HR team now has a broad range of experience with experience from multiple sectors. They also have educational backgrounds and professional certifications that help us to deliver services to the county's 850 plus staff, as well as help local municipalities, like agreements that we've already started with the town of Renfrew and last fall with Admast and Bromley for services like recruitment and onboarding, benefits administration, investigations and discipline, training, corporate policy development and interpretation, as well as labor relations issues like grievance management, collective agreement negotiations, creating letters of understanding, and the end of the not very fun part of it, terminations of employment, as well as dealing with pay equity and job evaluations. And we also have an occupational health team with 2 registered nurses on staff that are able to help lower tiers and ourselves with return to work and disability case management. So hopefully some of these are services that would be a benefit to your municipality, and we look forward to the opportunity to provide assistance wherever council and staff feel that they would be of benefit. Paul, back to you.
Thanks, Greg. Maybe you can just tell us a little bit about the contract with Renfrew and how that's going and how you positioned that with that individual, so council gets a flavor for, how we're rolling this out.
Sure. So we've developed a pretty standard boiler template service level agreement that whenever there's a project of some nature that a municipality wants to undertake with us, it sort of sets out broad general terms, as well as an appendix, which is our scope of work. So at the town of Renfrew, our scope of work is really to provide a full HR service from dealing with labor relations, some large recruiting projects that they have to undertake for they're switching to a CAO model, as well as fire chief and treasurer. So some large portfolios to fill. And essentially what we've offered them is a main point of contact person in our department, but that staff member is supported by our whole team, which is one of the benefits of us having a large team, is we can bounce ideas off ourselves and each other to ensure that we're providing the best advice to everyone. But the team has a main point of contact for the local municipality so that they can just go to one person. And then in the background, we sort of farm the work out amongst ourselves to provide that support. And right now, most of the work is being done virtually, but we do have the opportunity and the option to do some of it in the town offices. And it's definitely something that we could look at with any of the other municipalities that would be interested.
Thanks for that, Greg. And that's a really good point. Just given the depth and the bench strength we have now, is that, you know, and in the case of Renfrew, it's Caitlin Doherty. And should Caitlin not be available, there's always someone there to backstop. So should a member of the staff have an issue or a question that needs to be answered, there's always someone else to fall back on in the office that will field the question should that individual be away. But, you know, people like that familiarity of the single contact. But we have the backup as well. Now, Greg, we also are providing, continuing with the 7 hours free as per our direction from council. So that is built into those service level agreements as well. So that is available to every municipality as well. So that's great. Your worship, would you like me to just turn it over to Craig to speak about planning and field questions at the end for both individuals, sir?
Before you do that, I really need to apologize to Mr. Belmore because I introduced him as the director of long-term care, and I was thinking in my head it was Mr. Blackmore and not Belmore, so that's my mistake, and I apologize for that. And if I just would have read my agenda, I would have had it right. But yes, if you want to turn it over to Mr. Kelly, that would be fine.
Thank you for that, sir. Craig, take it away, sir.
Yeah, we all start to look the same because we all had to wear blue tonight just to match the mayor of North Algona Wilberforce. So I'm happy about that, but thanks. Thanks, your worship, and good evening, North Algona Wilberforce. Yeah, no, the warden set it up nicely. The service delivery improvement project has been quite the journey. Our county building's 30 years old, and it was a nice opportunity to refresh it and bring it into to today's standards. And of course, we built it prior to the pandemic. Or built a lot of the infrastructure prior to the pandemic, or planned it at least. And luckily the open concept is now working for us in how we designed it. So welcome to come see it anytime and what we've done, and experience some of the technology that we're unfolding as we start to bring people back into the offices and have meetings, more hybrid versions, and have set up most of our meeting rooms to allow hybrid meetings, which is great. So the warden's asked me to speak about planning. Well, last year, gosh, it's been a while already, Charles Cheeseman left us after 32 years of providing planning services to the folks of Renfrew County. That allowed us a bit of a chance to look at our staffing complement. We had just finished a service delivery review of planning services that the warden alluded to, that asked to look at our staffing complement and asked to look at how much time we devote to the lower tier municipalities, and what capacity building we can do, and what can we move around, and who can we employ. So luckily, through a series of business cases that the county council approved, we brought in an intern last summer. We promoted Bruce Howarth from a senior planner to manager of planning services now. And everything started to fall into place. Our intern decided to make Renfrew County her home and started here last week. We had a lovely new employee apply for our new position that County Council approved in planning from Arnprior. So she's now working with us and fresh out of school too. So we have increased our planning complement by 1, which has allowed us to, and a big drum roll, complete North Algona Wilberforce zoning bylaw after several years. So of course, your staff and council should know that we're deep into your zoning bylaw as we go parcel by parcel, a piece of land, to make sure that the zoning is right, and trying to work through that. So that's one of our big projects that our review said, well, you got to accomplish these things if you're going to increase staffing levels. So of course, we're doing that. And part of that is, of course, to come up with a memorandum of understanding with all our municipalities, just to set the rules of engagement that we're all understand each other, kind of like Greg's and the corporate services model. Just let's understand each other's MO and make sure we know where everybody stands and that we are providing the services that you want and the level of service that you want. So that's ongoing. I'd be remiss not to thank Mayor Brose as the chair for his involvement with Renfrew County Housing Corporation. We are launching some new housing initiatives in the county. We've got an RFP currently out for at least half a dozen, we're hoping, new housing units that are to be built in Pembroke at this moment. But it's launched us down a path, and we'll be reaching out over the next little while. And I know that the warden has set this in motion, that we'll be reaching out to you and your council and many councils on what lands we all own. And you may have heard this on the radio or in the newspaper. We need to provide more housing, whether it's a housing model that the for-profit or the nonprofits deliver. There are opportunities out there to create more housing. And part of that is reviewing what lands are currently able to be developed. We've got thousands of them, believe it or not. How do we encourage those to develop the lots that they already have severed? How, to bring them from vacant lots to more lots? How do we use municipal assets to develop nonprofit housing? So we'll be reaching out to see what assets that you may have that you're looking at disposing or not. So lots of stuff going on. There's little projects that we ask and we have been asked to complete. We've done an analysis on electric car vehicles from Mayor Brose. We've done an analysis on trail improvements in the area. So of course we've got lots of trails, so we're building those out from the KMP through to the Algonquin Trail. So lots of things are going on in development of property, including economic development and tourism activities, but I won't bore you with all that fun stuff, and I'll open it for questions and happy to be here. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Warden, and thanks, Mayor Brose and Council.
Thanks, Mayor Brose. If you're okay, I'll turn it over to you, sir, for any questions you might have for us. But us being here tonight is a bit of a concerted effort to get out and improve communications with our local municipalities, spearheaded by the warden, who seemed to somehow put that in my performance review document, that we got to get out and communicate a little bit better. And you may have seen the communication document that follows county council as well, and we're going to keep that up as well. And I think that's part of the effort as well, to keep local municipalities informed as to what we're up to at the county, and maybe if they have questions or want to participate at some level in some of the programs we're working on, everyone's welcome. So I will leave it at that, Your Worship, and turn it over to you for questions. Thank you.
Well, thank you all very much for attending, and certainly want to thank you for doing that county council summary. I think that's a great tool and a great way of keeping all of the councils in Renfrew County informed about what's happening in the county. Just a quick thank you to Mr. Kelly as well for the official plan and the work that went into that. And I know he had some stressful days dealing with that, but we did finally get it approved, and with certainly the support of our MPP, John Yakubuski, certainly helped give us the exemptions that we need in Renfrew County. So with that, I'll turn it over to my councils if they have any questions. Obviously, everybody here is really happy with the job that the county's doing. So, Mr. Kelly, I just had one question. I'm glad to hear that you've hired another person in planning. So we could probably expect in the next week or two that our general inquiry backlogs will be eliminated.
There's this really big zoning bylaw we're working on. We hate to move that to the side at this point. But in all honesty, yes, that is the goal. That is absolutely the goal. Just briefly, if I can have the floor, we've set aside everything, including the active files, to concentrate on the zoning bylaws to really make a huge dent in them, with the hope of getting out to the public. Bruce says in the spring. Hopefully by May, to get out to the public, especially in North Algona Wilberforce, to start the feedback rolling. So that was a concerted effort to do that. So it meant, unfortunately, the general inquiries have been pushed aside, but it's for the greater good, sir.
Well, thank you for that. And just as you're talking about planning, and I did talk to Mr. Morrow about it, the fact that we've hired a new special project coordinator in our municipality, and I would certainly like the opportunity to introduce her to you at some point, and I'm sure she would take advantage of any services that you might be able to help in supporting her role. So something we can plan for the future.
Yep.
Well, thank you all very much. Warden Robbins, we certainly appreciate you coming as well and taking the time out of your, I know you had a council meeting tonight, so I appreciate the extra time you're putting in as well.
Oh, you're very welcome. My council meeting actually ended early, but that's unusual. So I had lots of time to prepare. So it is, as Mr. Morrow said, it is our privilege to be able to go even virtually to visit the 17 municipalities. It's something that I don't think it's been done in a very long time. And it really, I find it very, very rewarding, and I know the staff do as well. And I'm hoping your council does. It's an opportunity really to, just see what we're doing. The linkages that we have with our lower tier municipalities have to get stronger. We're working very hard in that respect. And so, if, and I know you are an exceptional representative of your community. So if there's any issues that North Algona Wilberforce has, I know you will bring them to the table. And again, thank you for everything that you're doing, Mayor Rose.
Mr. Morrow, did you have any final comments?
No, thank you. We just appreciate having the opportunity to address council tonight. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, take care, everyone. Stay safe.
Take care.
Dr. Renfrew County's presentation be accepted as information. I have a second, moved by Councilor Ricky, seconded by Councilor Buckwell. Councilor Hurt? Yes. Councilor Buckwell?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilor Ricky Shumway?
Yes.
Yes, that's carried. Thank you. Nine point one is the Voucher Union Public Library. And we have the public library report, the CEO reports, and the library year in review reports. I have a motion that the library reports be accepted as presented. Moved by Councilor Ricky Schoenfeld, seconded by Councilor Burnt. Comments? Councilor Ricky Schoenfeld.
If I can answer the mayor, what is the Canada Helps?
It's a organization that you can do your donations on. So not just the library, but any organization that's not for profit can register, and the donation is done designated to the library, but they prepare the receipts for it.
And is it like dollar for dollar, or?
Yes, but they usually might take a couple of dollars off to the organization. Basically the bulk of the money goes to whether it's a library or Rotary or any company, any organizations like that.
And then they prepare the receipt.
They prepare the receipts,
Thank
so
you.
they just get notified that the funds are there.
Thank you.
Comments or questions? Seeing none, Councilor Burns. Yes. Councilor Buckwell.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Ricky Schoenfeld.
Yes.
Yes, that's carried. Thank you. Item 9.2 is the fire department mandatory certification. I have a motion that the fire department report be accepted as information. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councilor Burns, seconded by Councilor Robinson. Comments or questions? Councilor Ricky Schoenfeld.
If I may, through the mayor, so it's looking like they'd like to go to the learning contracts, and that means that somebody from the training center will deliver it? Is that what you think of? I was just kind of confused a little bit because they said that the Ontario Fire College was closed. But it looks like then they'll be delivering it. And then the other thing I was asking to ask was, where will it take place?
So, Andrew,
So if I may, to the mayor, there are still conversations and consulting being done. And the chief did submit this report based on the fact we put that in the budget, but I think that there will be a further report coming back to council with more information as to how it will be rolled out,
Okay,
as the consultation period is still ongoing.
okay, thank you.
any other comments or questions? I really struggle with this approach that they're taking. I think again, it's another hit financially on the smaller municipalities who we just don't have the dollars to certify every one of our firefighters to the level that the province would like to have them at. And when I look at the training areas or centers that they've set up, the closest one is Mississippi Mills, which is a 2-hour drive for us, and we understand why there couldn't have been one in Ottawa. And these regional hubs, which when they closed the fire college, were supposed to make things more accessible and efficient. I just don't see how that's going to happen and how that's going to work. Seeing no others, then I'll call the vote. Councillor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councillor Robinson,
Yes.
Councillor Reichel-Schmaltz,
Yes,
and yes. Carried. And 9.3 is our COVID-19 vaccine policy review. So I have a motion that council accepts the vaccine policy review report and that the vaccine policy terminates on February 28th, 2022. And further, that the policy be replaced with a wellness policy that will be brought forward to council once all restrictions are removed. Can I get over in a second? Councilor Buckwell, second. Councilor Lynch. Councilor Reichel-Schmaltz.
okay, so I don't know if this was part of it, but when we talk about the corporate policies and procedures, and on that other handout that's after the end of the report. This says that the policy shall be reviewed by council by May 31st, 2022. Federal and provincial and public health rules, legislation or guidelines, state precedents over this policy. I'm just wondering why it's such a late review.
Yes, Mr. Campbell.
So if I may, to the mayor, there was a document put into the original agenda on a proposed possible replacement of a policy that exists, but provincial announcements pretty well made both policies redundant. So what council's actually looking at is whether they're going to withdraw the policy like similar municipalities at the end of the month. And the suggestion is that council replace the policy with a health and wellness policy that is in line with what you have in recommendations in your strategic plan. And that would be an inclusive policy for all members of council, all workers to participate in and to grow that policy. And that it's really premature to do that policy until all the restrictions are on.
Follow up, Councilor.
I'm answering the mayor to Mr. Front. So does that mean that policy, which is 7 pages long, is redundant after February the 28th?
That's what's before council tonight, is to just withdraw the policy completely at the end of the month when the restrictions are.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Councilor Buckland.
So it's the existing policy, not the one that's in the agenda as draft.
Correct.
Any other questions or comments? I mean, hopefully, I think it was on the news tonight that they're discontinuing PCR testing at airports now as well. So every step forward seems to be a step towards hopefully getting us back to some sort of normal. Call the vote, Council Burns.
Yeah.
Council Buckland.
Yes.
Council Robinson.
Yeah.
Council Rickenson.
Yes.
And that's carried. Eleven is correspondence. I have a motion that correspondence items 11.1 to 11.3 be accepted as information. I'm going to move it in second, please. Seconded by Council Robinson. Council Burns. Yes. Council Buckland.
Yes.
Council Robinson.
Yes.
Council Rickenson.
Yes.
Yes, that's carried. Here. Item 11.2.1 is municipal affairs and housing. So I have a motion that council and staff submit comments to the clerk and authorize the clerk to forward the comments to Minister Clark. Can I get a mover in a second? By Council Robinson, seconded by Council Rickenson. Comments or questions? Council Buckland.
Can we get clarification on what the proper date deadline is? February 15th in the memo. It's either by 3 numbers or 3 days.
We were using Friday, the 18th as the date.
Certainly anything that council has as far as ideas for dealing with the lack of affordable housing and the homelessness situation that has gotten worse with COVID because it's driven up land prices and housing prices. And what has been happening, the experience with community services that I sit on is that some of the available rental places or rental assistance places for low-income people, the landlords have sold them because the housing market was so hot. So it just creates a greater shortage again. Yes, Councilor Buckland.
Has there been a discussion at the county about making it easier for people to do tiny homes or multiple tiny homes in one property?
There certainly has been, and there's been some adjustments in the official plan for Renfrew County that would certainly, they would look at that. And I'm not going to say they would approve them all, but they would certainly take a look at them to see if it's a direction and something that could fit in Renfrew County.
Because that would seem to be a construction, a lower cost of maintenance. And for short-term emergency housing, again, for short-term homelessness, things like that, it might be a nice transition move for the people that are waiting for a regular home. At least it might get somebody off the streets and into a warm bed with a shower. It won't be larger, but really it's no different than how we're putting people in long-term residences and people are online. So I was thinking that might be a direction, you know, that would be cost effective, and a property owner, if they want to put 3 or 4 units on a small reasonable property, could do so, and then enter into an agreement.
It's and it was quite a few workshops and speakers at Roma on dealing with the housing and homelessness issue, and I can't remember the name of the company, but they have been putting up affordable housing units, sometimes even using refurbished trailers and turning them into housing. Tiny homes was something they also would look at, and then these panel construction homes where they're set up on site. They come in sections and they bolt them together, or whatever, they nail them together. Anyways, so
Military's done it for years when putting it at temporary bases. Right, you'd want something a little bit sturdier than what they're used to doing, because they're looking for a whole lot. But again, I think that that's an option that would probably be beneficial. It would make your infrastructure a lot easier too.
Right. Well, and the other thing this company does is they build to net zero. So they're not just looking at the original construction cost, they're looking at making it more affordable for the residents moving forward. They're cutting back on their heating costs and lighting, et cetera. Councilor Robertson.
I'm just wondering, one of the comments that was made in the presentation was looking at places within the community that are available for basically not-for-profit construction. When they were doing that review, quite often we see empty buildings or abandoned buildings or buildings that no longer serve the use. And one of the things that I'm thinking about was, like you mentioned, old bases. We don't necessarily have them here in North Algona Wilberforce, but those can be sort of refurbished into homes. It's extra, because they are a significant decrease in renting supply.
So one of the things the county is in the process of doing is applying for a grant and to develop an inventory of vacant lots, vacant properties, etc., so that it creates that that inventory. So if somebody is interested, a developer in building any type of housing, not necessarily housing for low income, but any type of housing, one of the challenges has been, especially for low income housing, the cost of property.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's, municipally owned vacant property, then that certainly already is a advantage to somebody who wants to build affordable housing units, because they don't have to absorb the cost of the land.
One of the things that in my past life we talked about was putting into place bylaws that for new construction, that a percentage of those new construction is slated for affordable housing. So it's and I will probably send off a comment for that regard, because I think we need to create that blueprint to make sure or to ensure that the entrepreneurs.
Certainly it's something that seems to work better in larger centers
Mhm.
where they can build bigger scale, and they can then incorporate some of that low income housing or rentier income housing. But for Renfrew County and the developers here, we don't have that same opportunity to build that, to scale that size to absorb some of those other units. So that's another one of the challenges that we have.
I know that, but I'm just thinking that if we start that in the planning, it probably, we might be able to get people who are interested in doing things like that. Just a thought.
And that was certainly a county part of the discussion. I've seen, a lot of our rentier or assisted housing is in the more populated areas like Pembroke, Renfrew, Fire. But it's really needed in every small municipality in the county, not just the larger centers. And that's where we need to find some sort of solution, or at least an opportunity to create that throughout the county, not just in the populated centers. Councilor Buckle.
And it becomes a challenge in the more centers, because again, a lot of the same individuals that need assistance with that vehicle transportation.
Right.
So now you also have to consider transportation, right? You have to find point and do the things too. So it's really a challenge for us in the rural setting to be able to provide that. For the urban setting, we have the access to public transit. Say, on a corporate scale development. I was shocked at the number of people, or the amount of homelessness in Redmond County. Until recently.
And the big thing in Renfrew County that I'm not sure if a lot of people realize is the that isn't seen. There's a lot of people that are couch surfing or living in somebody's basement or sharing a small room. We don't see as many people out on the streets like you might in the cities, although there are some in Riverside, not Riverside Park, but down at the waterfront by the big marina. But we certainly have that invisible situation with people looking for a place to stay, maybe living with friends, relatives, whatever.
Moved back home. Now, a home that was probably built for mom and dad and 2 kids now has 8 people. And there's no end in sight for that. Because, you know, for them to buy a home, it's not out of the market.
It's almost impossible.
It is.
That's what it is.
And when you start talking about the economics involved, we can have lots of houses built, but if the person can't afford to buy it, then it's gonna go to waste, right? So it gets back to me, economic development, what can we bring into Renfrew County that are well-paying jobs? If we have well-paying jobs, then those people have monies to buy houses, right? And that's the unfortunate thing. Like I think about all the factories in Pembroke and Renfrew that used to be viable, that had all those people in it, and they're all gone. And some of them are used by other businesses now, but the amount of people being employed is not there anymore. And all you have to do is look at the attendance in all the high schools, how big they were, you know, in the 70s and 80s and how small they are now. So, I mean, it gets back to, we have to do something to bring in business into Renfrew County, make it prosperous, and then, you know, then people can afford houses, right? And that's the that's the problem I see. You know, it's great to talk about houses, but we need people that have money so they can buy the houses.
A place to start though, when you're talking about employment, is people, shortage nurses, PSWs, paramedics, tradespeople. And, you know, that's, those are all certainly well-paying jobs. It's the challenge is sometimes keeping them in Renfrew County, because probably this other contractors out there. That's one of their challenges. They train them here and then they move to the city to work for somebody who can pay them more money. And that becomes part of the challenge. But the other thing that's happening is school population is down because we're not having as many babies.
Yeah. I guess they're doing a good job with sexual education.
It works.
Unique cycle.
So any other comments? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. Councilor Burns?
Yes.
Councilor Bucklow?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilor Wright-Bishoff?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. That brings us to bylaws. I have bylaw number 22-13. Now therefore, the Council of North Algona Wilberforce enact the following bylaw. 2022-13, a bylaw to adopt the 2022 municipal budget estimates. Be read a first and second time this 15th day of February 2022. Can I get a mover and seconder? By Councilor Wright-Bishoff, seconded by Councilor Bucklow. You read a third time and finally passed this 15th day of February 2022. Councilor Burns?
Yes.
Councilor Bucklow?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilor Wright-Bishoff?
Yes.
Yes. Carried. Thank you. Matters of urgency. We have a report on our asset management plan and our asset management proposal. So I have a resolution that council accepts the asset management plan report, and further that council suspends the procurement bylaw and directs the CAO to proceed with the sole source quote from PSD Citywide Inc. in the amount of 26,400 plus HST to prepare an asset management plan which complies with the July 1st, 2022 deadline and July 1st, 2024 requirements of Ontario Regulation 588-17. Can I get a mover and a second? Moved by Councilor Buckwald, seconded by Councilor French. Maybe I'll just ask Mr. Durant if he can speak.
So through the mayor, I'm actually going to let the treasurer speak
Okay.
for having a report. But I'll just point out to council that this not only puts us in compliance to the July 2022 deadline, but it also sets the new council up being covered for the July 1st, 2024 deadline. I'll pass it over to the treasurer.
So municipalities are required to prepare an asset management plan, so it has to be compliant with Ontario Resolution 588/17. And so the municipality is required to develop a plan, and there's 3 stages. So by July 1st of this year, we need to develop a plan that includes our roads, and stormwater assets for our municipality. We need to have information on infrastructure asset inventory, our current levels of service, our life cycle activities, and road design. By July 1st of 2024. But for all municipal assets. And then going further, by July 1st of 2025, we have to have a plan that includes additional information, and that includes information on proposed levels of service, life cycle management strategy, and a financial strategy for these assets. So the township, last year, we did approve the purchase of asset management software, and we are in the process of implementing that. And that's an important component towards helping us develop our asset management plan, because that's going to provide the data and information needed to the plan. And so the asset management plan, it's a quite a substantial task. In order to meet the July 1st deadline, we will be required to go to an outside party to assist the township in preparing that plan. And because of the tight timeline, it doesn't allow us to tender that process. So that's why we're asking that the source. So EFT, they have been helping us with our asset management software, and they're in the perfect position to help us develop the plan.
My understanding is with the grant that we just received, the funding of this will be covered by that grant.
So the grant doesn't cover a portion of helping us with the asset management plan, but we do have funds in the budget to cover the rest.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Councilor Ricketts.
So is the $26,400, is that just for the July 1st report? Or is it for the July 1st, 2022 and the July 1st, 2024?
It's for both.
It's for both. Thank you.
Because the reports are so similar, they're going to prepare them in conjunction.
Questions? Seeing none, Councilor Burns.
Yes.
Councilor Buckwald.
Yeah.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Reggie Schultz.
Yeah.
I'm a yes, that's very good. And then we have are there any notice of motion? We've had our reports in committees, in upcoming meetings and unfinished business, which brings us to our bulk voucher program. So I have a motion that council directs staff to implement a large item disposal program at Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery Center. And further to the program, the program will be offered for 1 week in May, 1 week in June, 1 week in July, and 1 week in September. And then we're going to second. Well, seconded by Councilor Edmondson. Councilor Bucknell.
I think those make for a good breakdown that allows our full-time and our seasonal residents to access it. And it gives us an opportunity to evaluate how much there is used, so that the next council here will have the data to work with. And it's up to determine whether the individual weeks work or go back to the old system. I think that be good method of evaluation.
Councilor Robinson.
I thought we were going to do something in October, like 1 week in October. Which is around Thanksgiving.
I think we decided not to go that far.
Okay.
So two things, if I may. So, it says, all properties will be given a coupon that has a 911 number. So when I get my tax bills, I own 2 properties that have a 911 number. So that means I get 2 coupons in my one tax package that I get. And the other thing too, you know that, large item disposal, that list acceptable and not acceptable. Will that be also included in the, tax bill or referred to somewhere? So then people know what is acceptable and not?
Yes, Floyd.
That listing won't be included in the tax bill, but that information was provided on the website.
Okay, so will you in that, on the coupon say see website for acceptable?
We can do that, yes.
Okay, that would be great. Because sometimes I know certain people think certain things should be included. But then they can't complain if they go there and it's not acceptable.
Through the mayor, it says here on the one provider, it could be offered at Merge Road transfer site for 2 weeks, May 21st and May 28th. I think it would be a good area, but I think
For Burn Grove.
So I'm going to hand the gavel over to, because I wanted to speak to this. I can't support it, and I just wanted to give my reasons why. I want to start by saying our mission statement, according to our little chart that we all have, says right at the beginning that North Algona Wilberforce engages listening, learning, communication, and advocacy as a means to commit to excellence and continuous improvement in evidence-based decision-making that strengthens the community. I'm really concerned because this isn't evidence-based. The only evidence we have is that last year for 1 week, it cost us $1,434.60. So we didn't discuss this at our budget. We didn't include a figure in our budget. If that's 1 week, and I times that by 4 weeks, that comes to $5,738. That's 1/5 of 1% on our levy. And that could be higher, it could be lower, because we don't really know at this point. That's a fairly significant chunk of money that we haven't even budgeted for in this year's budget. The other thing is, by opening it up for 4 weeks, it means cottagers can bring garbage from home and bring it to our transfer site. The transfer vouchers can be shared between residents. It doesn't align with our strategic plan and our decision dashboard. And the bag tag fees currently, which really we revised, I think it was 4 years ago, because we were trying to cover the cost of the service with the bag tag fees. The bag tag fees we collected last year were 71,000. The tipping and haulage fees were 74,000. So we were already 3,000 short of covering the costs. This is again going to increase that cost that we haven't covered. So as an option, I was wondering if council would consider, we could go with status quo, do 1 week in May, review the data, the usage and the costs, and we still have time to make a decision after that on whether we want to extend the service or leave it at 1 week. It gives us an opportunity to get more evidence to make a decision. And the other thing I'd still say is if we do it for 4 weeks, we set up the next council that if they decide they don't want to do it for 4 weeks, it's always much harder to take that service away. So those are my reasons why I can't support it the way it is. And the other thing I just wanted to add before I finish is that if we're not doing the service at Burnt Road, it's always supervised if it's at Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery. At Burnt Road, there's not always somebody there to supervise what people are throwing in the bin. If that bin gets contaminated with material that's not acceptable, then the cost of the disposal goes from $98 to $250. So again, that adds to the cost.
I can agree with some of it, I have to disagree with some. The amount that we paid for 1 week, we can't necessarily multiply by 4, because if people were only expected to have that 1 week, they may have brought everything in at one time. So again, that number is kind of up in the air. And my understanding when we discussed it was that it was going to eliminate the bulk days at transfer sites. There's a recommendation here that it could be done there. I understand if you look strictly at the 4 weeks, at probably would end up being transfer sites. Presently, again, it's the way to come better. I think what we were discussing is we're trying to find something that would all our residents and give the opportunity and not be tied to that one day or that 1 week. And by putting it at Ottawa Valley, again, we didn't have to put any additional staffing into it, and yet it was always honored. I still think that the program being moved to Ottawa Valley is a good idea. Discussing how many of these we do it for, I still think it's a good idea.
I'm thinking that if you are putting one coupon in the tax bill, it only is giving that person one opportunity to take bulk to the transfer site, to Ottawa. Thank you. So irrespective if they have 4 weeks or 1 week, it makes no difference. That's my understanding. Am I correct?
Unless they start using somebody else's coupon. Because not everybody's going to use these, right?
No, based on the stats that we had from last year, it was just a small percentage. So whether having it open and available more than 1 week, I think is a benefit. We do it, we cut it in half. I think personally, having it for 4 weeks, I think is excessive.
I'm sorry.
So when I look at our questions, what is the value and does it benefit the residents in the community? And really, I do think it is of value. And we have budgeted for it in a different way because we have had both days before. And does it benefit the community? Yes. One of our values is environmental stewardship. We didn't talk about bringing garbage. We basically talked about big bulk stuff. If a person's coming from the city to the lake, Golden Lake, Lake Dorian, Lake, lots of them do a garbage pickup, so I don't think they'd be trucking their garbage from the city to the country just to be able to go to the Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery to take it. What are the financial implications? And maybe it is more than we budgeted for. However, we did, in a way, budget for large item disposal. Does it represent the vision of the residents of the council? Well, it goes back to environmental stewardship. And really, to me, a little bit of inclusive human connection, because we're talking about, you know, going to the waste recovery. Did you go? Now we have the opportunity not just to go on 2 weekends. Now we have the opportunity to go in a week. It's more inclusive because maybe I come up in June and not in May, so now I have the opportunity to go to the waste recovery. And are we demonstrating commitment to the township and providing leadership? Well, we're trying to do something different so that more people can access this program. And I think that's a good thing. Okay, maybe not 4 weeks, but I can see 3 weeks. It just gives more flexibility. And I think that's important. The one thing people talk to me is, and around, we have lots of lakefront property and the taxes are very expensive. And they're like, what do we get for this? You know, when I live in the city, and it's a choice I get. But in the city, I get this, that, and the other thing. When I come up here, my internet is poor. We have no garbage pickup. My taxes are high. What am I getting for it? But I do believe people will get their voucher in their tax bill, and lots of them won't even pay attention to it and they may throw it out. But at least we gave them the opportunity to do that. And I do believe we do spend money in other ways. I don't think it would be excessive. I think we should keep record of it, and then we can use that as a tracker for the next council to say, you know, we have to do things differently. But I like the idea of the flexibility. I like the idea that, you know, they can remove some of those big bulk items from their properties. And yes, if people were to use, to give my voucher to somebody else, well, indirectly, we've already accounted for the fact that 10,000 are going out, so there's possibly 10,000. It's not like they're going to photocopy, because we're going to have to put a roll number on it, just like we did before, right? I'm in favor of the program, you know, in a way to reduce money, getting rid of one of the weeks. I'd be in favor of that.
Well, I go back to my other suggestion, and that's because we have time. We don't have to rush this decision. We approve 1 week, we do 1 week, we review the data. We still have time. If we want to approve another week, we can, or 2. I do believe the most usage would happen on the May long weekend and the Labor Day long weekend. I'm not sure how many would be interested. If you're there in July and August, usually you want to be there for the vacation and you don't want to be hauling stuff through the transfer stuff. So really, I struggle because again, we're talking last year, we spent $1,400. If we increase, yeah, it might not go up another $1,400, but I imagine it will go up. And we haven't put any money in the budget for it. And the reason it concerns me this year is because our budgets are going to be a lot tighter. We know where the price of fuel is going. Estimates are it could hit $2 a liter by the summer. That's going to increase our budgets here. It's going to increase Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery budget, which we have to pay towards. And we're jumping into a program where we have no idea what it could cost us.
If I make through the mayor, your solution, the one problem I see with it is we're going to get our tax bill with the voucher in, and we're going to put the date in as the first week in May, right? If we study it, we'll never be able to get another voucher out to them.
Well, when does the second tax bill go out?
But what I'm trying to say is, then, like, how are you going to monitor that? Just saying now, if you haven't used a voucher in May, And now I guess we can use it in June?
But if you're only approving 1 week, it has to be used that week.
Exactly, so now we're back to like no flexibility.
And just if we did review it and decide that yes, there was a desire to do it, are we going to issue a new pass to everyone? Now you potentially have instead of 10,000 passes, let's say 20,000. Again, because the Waste Recovery Center isn't going to keep track of room number 4, so it's significant. I understand where they're coming from, Mr. Mayor, as far as concern about the cost. But again, we do need data, and since we haven't done it this way before, the only way to have data is to do the 2 weeks. Because we've done the 1 day, right? We've done the week, right? Now let's try the 2 weeks at OVWRC, and let's compare all those numbers and see which one, A, had the greatest effect, and B, was more cost effective. But yeah, maybe it means coming down from 4 weeks, maybe. And I can understand the comment that, you know, people aren't gonna want to be bringing bulk stuff in the summer. But if they're up here for 2 weeks and that's when they decide to do a project and replace a bed or whatever, that just might well be when they're, you know, they have a need for bulk. So rethinking it, three might be reasonable. An opening, a closing, and then one in the middle. I think I tell you if I would stand a bit of that.
If I may, through the mayor, I can agree with 2 weeks.
I go for the mayor and looking back at it. But you have some council with endorse something too. If you approve 1 week in May and 1 week in June, you would be able to provide the data and let council make a decision whether you want to do 2 more weeks later, and you just issued the coupon once. That would be just a suggestion to do.
Council.
When you're generating the coupon, wouldn't it have the dates on it?
Yes, to the mayor, we would have the dates, but if council chooses, then through our social media, through our bulletin boards, we could get it out that we're doing 2 more days.
Then the voucher we just send out once on the first tax bill.
That would be, as Councillor Buckwell alluded, if you send out 2 sets of vouchers, you can sell one.
Yeah.
So you need to send out one.
And here, I'm not sure what I'm hearing.
Well, you heard 3.
Right now, there's 4 weeks down on the resolution.
I would be okay with 2 or 3.
That's what I just.
I'd be okay with 3 and like Council Buckwell said, and like, you know, 1 at the end, 1 in the beginning, and 1 in the middle.
Council Robinson.
Okay.
I'm okay with 2.
Okay, so 2 it is, 1 in May and 1 in September.
That's correct.
Council Burke,
Yes.
Council Buckwell,
Yes.
Council Robinson,
Yes.
Council Becky Schwentzel,
No,
and I'm going to say no as well because I just think it should be 1 week. So the motion is carried. That brings us to our confirmatory bylaws. I have a motion that bylaw 2022-12 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council for February 15th, 2022. You read it first and second time this 15th day of February 2022. And I'm going to move in a seconder, moved by Councilor Burns, seconded by Councilor Robinson. Read the third time and finally passed this 15th day of February 2022. Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Buckland,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilor Recchi,
Yes.
and a yes. Carried, thank you. I have a resolution that this meeting of February 15th, 2022, regular meeting of council adjourns at 8:46 p.m. Can I get a mover and second? Moved by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Burke. Councilor Burke?
Yes.
Councilor Buckland?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilor Recchi?
Yes.
And yes, it's carried. Thank you.